Hey, JD here. Welcome to the Mead House. You know, over the past several years, we've brought you over 150 episodes of mead making education, information, and entertainment. More than 100 guests have stopped by the Mead House, professional mead makers, medal-winning home mead makers, competition organizers, experts on yeast and honey, and brewers just like you and me have all visited to share their knowledge. Hey, the Mead House is produced for home mead makers and brewers looking for a bit of inspiration and information from the many guests and discussions we have here at the house. You can help support the Mead House by joining the Mead House Keyholder Club on Patreon. Just go to patreon.com and search for the Mead House. There's also a link in the show notes. For as little as $2 a month, you can become a keyholder. We've teamed up with some great companies to provide thank you gifts for your support. So get on over to Patreon, join the Mead House Keyholder Club, and get your own set of keys to the Mead House. You can listen to the Mead House podcast with your favorite player, and be sure to rate us 5 stars on iTunes or your favorite listening venue. The Mead House, mead making entertainment you just don't want to miss. So I'm sitting in my overstuffed leather chair one night, sipping on a really nice 2-finger pour of some good barrel-aged mead, reading a good book, and then I heard a commotion out on the front porch. You know, the one I had to rebuild after the accident involving some wild raccoons. Well, I got up, almost tripped over that lazy-ass bloodhound we keep for no good reason other than keeping Jeff's recliner warm on my way to the front door. Putting my head close enough to hear what was going on, I heard what sounded like a bunch of crowing going on, like a rooster fight over a couple of hens or something. So I flung the door open, and lo and behold, there were beer bottles, empty beer mugs, peanut shells, even a couple of wine bottles strewn all over that brand new front porch. And I seen them roosters laughing their asses off on their way back across the way over to that strip club. Must have been some kind of revenge thing or something, but that's okay, because I love a good chicken noodle soup. Anyway, hey, welcome to the Mead House, and thanks for listening to episode number 218. Hey, you know where you can listen to the show. Sound like a broken record here some nights. Make sure and listen. I'm going to read it verbatim. Make sure and listen to the podcast on your favorite player. I write this stuff all the time. Sometimes I got to come up with something different. But anyway, you know the drill here. You can get the direct RSS feed right off the website, or you can just, if you got a favorite player, if Android, iOS, just go to the Play. Wherever you get your apps from, Play Mart or whatever. I can't remember what they're all called. But you can get your podcast app from your favorite source. We'll put it that way. And then, of course, we're on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, iHeart, YouTube, all over the place. Even Amazon Music, I'll be darned. And just a whole bunch of other places. You can check them all out on the front page of the website. That's themeadhouse.com. Hey, in this episode, Iron Beat 2021, the results are in, and Ryan is here with BJCP certified mead judge Matt Whitey. Matt is a longtime friend of the Mead House, and we welcome him back here shortly as he and Ryan talk about the variety of meads that were judged. And in segment 2, it's still bragging night here at the house. And again, Ryan's got a few words on the Iron Beat 2021 Bragging Shootout category. And, of course, we'll list all of the winners after that segment. And then if we have some time, we're going to catch up on some social club. This is where we try to answer questions from mead makers with no formal expertise other than what we've experienced in our own brew house. Of course, all that and more here at the Mead House. But first, thanks to all of the Mead House key holders that help keep the Mead House podcast free. You too can become a Mead House key holder and help support the show. I can see both Brian and Just lips moving. You too can become a meat altogether now. You can become a Mead House key holder and help support for as little as $2 a month. We have some great thank you gifts to send out to you, plus we're listening to key holder only content. So get on over to patreon.com, search for the Mead House, or just click on the link in the show notes. What are we drinking tonight? Charm City Meads, guys, is what I got. I found this bottle. We were at,
very nice.
We were at Total Wine, and I don't remember I don't know why we were there for something, but so walking around, we were like in the last aisle on the way to the checkout deal, and we just happened to walk past the last aisle, and right there in the corner, I looked down and I saw Redstone Meadery's bottle, unmistakably, that blue bottle that they always put their meads in. That, oh, that must be the mead shelf. So I looked and I was kind of looking and looking, and I seen this little shorty looking looks like I don't know what kind of bottle you call these things, but a little fat round thing, and it said Charm City Mead Works, and I think I've heard of them. And so I picked up the bottle, and it's the original dry. This is apparently barrel aged. I don't know what kind of a barrel they age it in. I'm going to assume probably an American oak. I have no idea. But my first taste was pretty. This is another mead. Okay. That many people can aspire to rise to. This is really good stuff. It's a dry mead. Now, don't mistake that for a unsweetened mead. There's plenty of sweetness here, but it's a kind of a perceptual thing, right in the very front of your tongue. And then as it slowly works itself back on your palate, you get that sense of dryness. There's a nice balance between tartness and dryness that comes with it. This is a mead that I would drink with a nice pasta dish or, a chicken dish or whatever. Even just to sit and drink it all by itself. You want to drink this at room temperature. I think it would be a disservice to drink it, cold. But I'm going to taste it again, Ryan. Well, I'm telling you, the aroma. Oh, God, what an incredible aroma! It's a wildflower honey, and definitely get that on the nose. Not a whole lot of barrel flavor there, but it's enough that it helps with the mouthfeel. So not a lot of barrel taste even there. Not if you really dig deep and spend some time with it, you can pick it up on the nose. But Charm City Mead Works, guys, you put out some really awesome mead here, and I'm glad I picked this bottle up. So tonight, the hell with the doctors. I'm double fisting it because on our tour around Total Wine the other day, I did spot a whiskey that I've been interested in trying. It's called Kings Creek. This is a Lincoln County process. It's a Tennessee sour mash whiskey. Now, for those of you who don't know what a sour mash is, if you think of it as like sourdough bread, okay, where you build a starter, okay, and then from that starter you take a certain amount and you start your loaf of bread, and then you put a little bit more back in, you feed that starter again to bring it back up to a level, and then the next loaf, again, you dig back into it, take a little bit out. Well, sour mash whiskey is basically a similar process, okay? The previously fermented mash is used as the starter for the new mash to be fermented, and that's what they call sour mash. And but this stuff is really good. I haven't taken a sip of this one yet, but I am. Wow. Wow. This is really good. Holy cow. Man, I'm getting all kinds of dried fruits like apricot, stone fruits, a nice, really nice, smooth barrel aroma. Not so much on the palate, a little bit of that charcoal. Oh, wow. Caramels, the brown sugar. Yeah, I definitely recommend this one if you can find it. Kings Creek, Tennessee wheat clocks in at 90 proof, so it's kind of up there. But if you don't, if you're not partial to a high octane whiskey, a few drops of water, spread it out a little bit. It won't hurt it, but really good stuff. So that's what I'm doing tonight, boys. Jeff, what did you put in your glass tonight?
So I have taken a couple chances with my drinks this evening. As usual, lately I have played bottle roulette tonight, and I came up with a bottle of my Riesling Piment that I made last year. Was it last year or year before? Jeez, time's getting away from me. It has to be last year. And so this is a Riesling Piment that I made with some orange blossom honey, and I thought the orange blossom would go nicely with this because Riesling is generally a little bit on the lighter side, and this is also a fairly acidic year, I gathered from the grapes, because this does have a pronounced acid character to it. But the orange blossom really melts nicely with that. They just the acid in the grape and the orange blossom honey flavor, they play real sweet together. I'm getting just a little bit of, I think it was an American oak that I put this on for just probably a couple weeks, just to give it a little bit of tannin. It's not strong, but it's there, just kind of to back everything up and kind of complete that triad of sweetness and acid and tannin. So yeah, no, well, as far as reaching into the cabinet and pulling out an unlabeled bottle, this actually worked out pretty well. I would say. So in my other glass, over the weekend, I went to the supermarket, just catch up on the, staples of the house, bread and milk and eggs and whatnot.
And beer.
And
it's beer, right?
I happened to walk through the alcohol aisle because I can't not. And I saw something that made me recall our potato Braggad question last week.
Oh, yeah.
So in my other glass, I saw this and I was like, God, I don't know if that's going to be good or bad, but now I have to get it, right? So my other glass is from Big Rip Brewery. They're a local microbrewery here. This is Pennywise Sweet Tater Ale. It says it's an amber ale brewed with sweet potato, brown sugar, vanilla bean, allspice, cinnamon, ginger, and nutmeg. And it is very ambery. It's kind of a dark amber, almost like a lighter shade of honey.
Wow.
And it tastes like a sweet potato pie.
Wow.
It's a little, it's light in body. I get a little bit of the sweet potato flavor, but all those spices, the nutmeg and the allspice and, the cinnamon, ginger kind of comes in at the very end. Those are playing a more prominent role than the sweet potato, almost like you'd expect. So yeah, no, this is not my favorite odd beer that I've tried on the show, but this is a decent fall drink, all things considered. It's I'll probably finish this 6-pack.
Matt Whitey's here with us tonight, and I know he can hear us. We just can't hear him right now. We'll bring him in here shortly, but I wouldn't have put it past him. If he listened to the last show and knows about the potato project that we were talking about, I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't put something together that tasted like a baked potato with sour cream and chives and a little bit of bacon in it. So we'll talk to Matt about that here in just a little bit. That's interesting stuff there, Jeff. Ryan, what's in your glass tonight, buddy?
Well, JD, I am triple fisting tonight.
Holy cow.
Triple fisting. And there's a reason why I'm triple fisting.
Maybe we should get the winners list up first before we get too far into the show then, huh?
Well, yeah, right. So the reason I'm triple fisting is, we did the judging. The judging was done last weekend, and I'm sipping on a couple of the winners. So I'm sipping on a couple of the winners.
Nice.
But I can't talk about those right now. So that's why I had the triple fist, because a listener to the show, told me that the What Are We Drinking is the favorite segment. It's the favorite segment of the show.
Really?
Very enjoyable. Always get a kick out of it. And I go, well, I can't just have two glasses in front of me that I can't talk about, because then I can't contribute to that segment of doing this.
Right.
All right. So I'll get back to that in just a second. We're recording here. Today's Pearl Harbor Day.
Yep.
Today is the 80th anniversary of the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. And I had every intention today to go to the local Legion or VFW and go in there and buy a veteran a beer and hang out. I like Legions. I like VFWs. I like these kind of places.
Yeah.
So, but things got busy. Couldn't make it in. Couldn't do that. So, ended up having a happy hour at the office, and just something real simple. Just had a scotch and soda. The office. Nothing too much to sing home about. Just a blended scotch. A good one, but not a great one. I think I mentioned this before. Don't keep good bottles of scotch at the office. You do that. Every time I come back in the morning, the cleaning staff seems to have dropped it by an inch, and so I had not needed something that was going to blend well, right? It had something that was going to merge from the scotch and soda into these winners, but needed something to talk about in the middle. So I opened a bottle. I still have about a case of it left, of the Summer Hydromel. And the Summer Hydromel was absolutely delicious. Was about a 5%-ish, mead, based off of the recipe. People have heard me say many, many times, the Skeeter Pea recipe. So based off the famous Skeeter Pea, lemon wine recipe.
Right.
And, but done with honey, of course, done dry. And then, what I added was a bottle of the Amaretti pomegranate flavoring to it. So it's a lemon pomegranate, super light, super fizzy, just fantastic, just bright, still tastes great. And a lot of times over the summer, I would tell when people, if they weren't mead people and I didn't want to take the time to describe, what a mead was or a hydromel was more specifically, I would just say it's a seltzer. Here, it's like a seltzer. And they drink it. This is great. I love it. This is amazing. People they love that thing, because it kind of on the same, body of, body flavor that they might get in some of those canned hard seltzer, drinks out there. So that's what I'm kind of cleansing the palate with a little bit here, as before I drink as I'm drinking some of these winners. Very good, very good. But before we get too far, why don't we bring in Mr. Matt Whitey, mead judge extraordinaire, mead maker extraordinaire. I say he's a very good mead maker and a pretty good human being. So we'll live with that. Matt, welcome back to the show. And what's in your glass tonight?
Well, thanks for having me. That's such a warm welcome. So when we talked, I said, sure, yeah, I can be on the show. And I forgot that I actually needed to be in Michigan this week. So I was unable to travel with some of the bottles that I wanted to talk to you about. But I was able to go to a local liquor store and get a local Mead Nectar, Kill All the Golfers mead with black tea and lemon, which is really, really good. Literally just down the road from me, but they're not open today. So this is the best I could do in short notice, but it's so good to be on the show tonight.
If you're stuck in a state and you're like, I was supposed to be on the Mead House tonight, where can I find something to drink? Michigan is not a bad place to be. With the amount of the density of professional meaderies in that state.
Yeah, both of them open up tomorrow, I believe. So it'll be a wash and mead tomorrow. But it's it's just a great time judging with you this past weekend. It was just a pleasure.
Likewise. So I'll set the stage a little bit here. Hacienda Whitey is about 8 blocks from Mead House North. So there was no trouble driving or transporting the entries over there for this event. A couple of folks asked us, hey, what gives, man? What's taking so long? Well, we at the Mead House try to be very very open, very forgiving, and very easy to work with. And there were a couple of folks that had some trouble shipping. The address this year was a little bit tricky. For those of you who had to looked at the address, I can understand maybe some confusion there. So a couple of folks let us know that they had tried to ship and had package returned to them, or some things like that. And we said, hey, you know what? No problem. We'll give you an extra week here, get the stuff in, and then we can do some sorting. We'll do all the sorting. We'll do all the pre competition stuff. And then do the judging. So that's what we did. We gave people a little bit of grace there to do that, because you get a secret ingredient, you spend a lot of time making something, and then the confusing address. I'm not going to let that ruin all the work you did, and so we wanted to be very lenient as much as we could there. All right, so that's a little explanation, because I know a couple of folks were chomping at the bit, and I get it. I've sent stuff in. I'm chomping at the bit too to get my results, so I get it. All right, so go over to the Whitey Hacienda, and we have several bottles that we're going to judge here in this final round, and first thing for me is I couldn't have imagined a wider spectrum. Meads of different strengths and sweetnesses and different ingredients involved in them. Very, very wide swath. Excellent to hear. Mead House Nation did a wonderful job of doing all that. Before we get too far, I want to say again that our very, very good and generous friends at Mountain Rose Herbs provided the secret ingredient again this year. This year's secret ingredient was passion flower. So passion flower was the secret ingredient. Very interesting. Jeff, you played with it. I actually love you to jump in here and talk about what you experienced when you were playing with the passion flower from Mountain Rose Herbs.
So the passion flower had some very interesting character to it. It had an almost an earthy character to it. First off, that was, you could almost call it, like a freshly mown grass was the kind of the first flavor note that I got off of it. I heard some other people call it like a hayloft, or it has that kind of character of like, mown alfalfa, things like that. It's a very kind of grassy note, and it changed a little bit depending on whether you boiled it or you just like kind of let it cold steep, so to speak, for an extended period of time. Hot process versus cold process, whether you used alcohol in that or just the water. So this was a little bit of a challenge, I think. Those grassy notes, those kind of vegetal notes, can be a little bit of a they're not necessarily the easiest thing to play with. And I know there were some people that contacted me like, what the heck, man? What am I supposed to do with this? I don't even know. This is amazing. This is just, blowing my mind. And then, so many other people at the same time were like, wow, this is actually a challenge. And I kind of felt the same way. Like, this is legitimately, this is going to take a lot of people way off of, anything they're terribly familiar with. They're going to be forced to kind of think outside the box here, and I think that is the spirit of this competition. So I was really pleased with the secret ingredient and the challenge level, and it sounds like Mead House Nation really rose to that challenge. So I'm excited to hear about the results.
Yes. So way back at Mead House, Iron B 1, we had fenugreek, and then it was rose hips last year, wasn't it, Jeff?
Yes, rose hips.
So, at fenugreek, then rose hips, and then passion flower. This competition, what I love about Scott, and I've judged in others, and I've helped organize another one, and it's that this competition draws people from across the spectrum. It draws mead makers who are established, medal winners, heavy medal winners. It also draws folks who their first time ever submitting a mead to a competition. And I love that swath. That's what I think sets us apart, makes it a little bit different than a lot of these competitions. And the other part of that is the equalizer. The equalizer is, maybe a couple of people have played rose hips, but when talking about fenugreek and passion flower, I didn't have anybody who was like, oh yeah, I've played with this. I know this ingredient. I'm a pro at this ingredient. It really does stress stress that equalizer of, whether it's your first mead or your 100th mead, it's probably your first mead with this ingredient. So really like that. And Mountain Rose Herbs does a great job of helping us select these. The staff, Jessica over there is excellent. I actually made an order of Mountain Rose Herbs after some other things too. So check them out before I give them a little shout out here. I think you've got another week or so to order if you want to do your Christmas, get your Christmas stuff delivered by them. Okay, so now back to the judging of the competition. We had a lot of meads in front of us all across the spectrum. The first thing that Matt and I had to do was kind of get a baseline of what this ingredient tasted like, or how it could present in these meads. And I'm going to give it over to Matt. Matt, why don't you kind of talk through just the opening here as we kind of started looking at the meads and trying to figure out how the ingredient was going to present and what your initial reactions were.
Well, I have never judged passion flower to my knowledge, so it was a little bit of a learning experience. So, I looked into it a little bit online, what I should expect, and basically unbelievable expression of passion flower. I mean, you really got dialed in and got the different, like Jeff was talking about, the earthiness, the herbal, sometimes almost menthol portion of the just the mead in general. It was such a wide, one of the notes that I have right here is a wide range of meads. So then to apply that passion flower to everything from a dry traditional to a real thick mellow. So it was just a great experience, and thank you for letting me join in that.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm just a podcast hack. I needed a reputable mead judge to weigh in on these kind of things.
No, well, and that's the other thing. And Jeff would attest to this. Sometimes somebody will judge a mead and say it's 25, and the other person says it's 45. Well, somebody's wrong. I mean, I hate and that's one of the things we had was consensus. We were really lockstep in terms of maybe a point here or there, but we certainly were aligned, and that was great.
Yeah, and speaking of that, the quality of meads was very good. I mean, we had quite a few. Now, I'll say this: your first time, playing with the mead, And I'm sure some of these folks may have made a few different batches, with their ingredients. Maybe they purchased some more ingredients. But your first time playing with a mead, I mean, I didn't expect a lot of people to be, in the high 40s, because some people spend a decade trying to dial in a mead that's going to score consistently, in a 45 or better or something. But overall, the quality of these meads was very good, and the scores reflect that. I think overall, Matt and I, we saw a lot of meads that are in that, like very good or better category when you look at the corresponding numbers on the score sheets. Matt, what do you think about the quality of those meads that we saw?
Oh yeah, absolutely. By and large, all of them. I mean, there was no anything that was a little bit off. They declared it, right? And that was what was great. You go, okay, well, maybe this is not something I'm used to, but they would declare it in the in what they were trying to do, and they did it. So just a great bunch of meads all the way around.
Yeah. Well, why don't we maybe talk about a couple of the highlights here before we get into announcing the winners? Or were there any surprises or standouts or anything that you made a mental note or maybe a physical note of as you were kind of tasting and going through them? I know I gave you a couple of bottles that you had requested as well. So,
well, anytime we get together, I'm going to request some bottles. So sure.
Yeah, only 8 blocks apart. I can imagine.
Right. Don't come over empty-handed, JD. You know how that
is. Yeah. Yeah, ask my neighbors. Yeah, right. Don't come over empty-handed to them. Is like always bring their own glass, right?
Well, but Ryan's one of the good guys, so he comes over bearing gifts, so that's great.
Oh my God.
Yeah, well, I did kind of volunteer his house. I asked him, I said, hey, I actually sent him a message. I said, hey, can you judge? And he goes, sure. And I go, your place?
Your place. Yeah. That's because Ryan's got, half a dozen or more kids, and every room is occupied.
My kids were gone, so it worked out okay.
Yeah, he just kicked his outside and said, put a hat on.
Yeah. All right.
So Matt, before we kind of get into talking about the winners here, anything of note you wanted to mention?
Well, I would, but I almost would like to get to the winners, and I don't want to disclose anything until things are said. I actually took a picture of the mini best in show, and I'd like to say this. You have the entrance, and you go through the scorecard, and you give the feedback. And then you go to the mini best in show, and that's where it's really difficult. And it's like shed a tear for Matt Whitey, right? You're judging great meads, but in the same token, it's tough to do because you're splitting hairs, right? And then you have to come to some kind of consensus between the two of you in that process. So it wasn't easy by any means.
Were there any unique meads? In the in the secret, okay,
right.
Well, go ahead.
Oh no, please finish, Matt.
Well, I mean, I think there were several, right? There were meads that had like a vinegar. There's Brett. Just a wide range of meads, and what I was really excited about was the amount of dry meads. I'm a little bit more of a sweet person, so when I saw all the different dry meads that were really well done, it was exciting.
This is a question for both of you. When you were tasting and judging all these meads, did you find that, and I'll start with Matt first, did you find that people were really pushing the envelope here and really taking a couple of steps forward past maybe the line that, we always think about not crossing? Did you see that sort of an effort being put into some of these meads that you judged?
JD, I've been on this earth 46 years. I don't know where that line is. Okay, ask my wife.
Yeah,
okay, so
you're
so don't ask me where the line is. But yeah,
you're talking to a guy who put edible glitter into a
true.
mead.
Yeah, true. Yeah, no. I've met Matt. I've tasted his meads, and oh yeah, that's why I said at the top of the show, this guy. I mean, there's nothing that stops this guy. I mean, put any ingredient in front of him, and he'll do something with it. So yeah, I get it. That's why I mentioned the whole potato thing. I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't come up with a mashed potato, complete with the sour cream, the chives, the bacon bits, the whole 9 yards. I wouldn't put it past him. But anyway, so
I'd love to actually do that. Here's an odd one for you. So I've done like carrot meats and some of the root vegetable meats, like you were talking about. I'm going to be going to the European Meadmakers conference in Poland, and that's all about like pierogies and exactly up that alley. So we're going to be making like potato bacon meads. It's going to be crazy. So
okay, back to the question.
Sorry.
All right, so
did you
I'll
keep it on
answer-
track, JD? Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ryan.
So I'll say this: I saw a lot of effort. I tasted a lot of effort in those bottles. I tasted what people, I could tell they were really trying very hard. They were trying to be creative. We tasted a lot of very clean, like Matt was saying, very few flaws, very clean meads, good ferments. It's a few of the people, I believe, were using some of the things that we've talked about, or I know they were. They're using some of the stuff we talked about, some of the yeasts we talk about, some of the flavor combinations we talk about, some of the styles we talk about. So a lot of great stuff there. I think without further ado, maybe we should read these winners off, and then we can talk a little bit about them.
Sounds great.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. And we'll do the Braggett thing here in a second segment. Go ahead. What the winners?
Yeah, then we'll talk about Braggett. Then we'll do. Yeah, okay.
Yep.
So first, amazing lineup there. Honorable mention, Laura Scott.
Awesome.
Very good mead there. Bronze medal winner.
Well, hang on a minute. Laura, we had Laura on the show, if you remember, and we were very interested in talking with her, aspiring home mead maker, and she came off to me as being somebody who really enjoyed pushing the envelope a little bit, and just enjoyed the hobby. So congratulations to Laura on the honorable mention for sure.
Bronze medalist, Michael Lavonte.
Now, Mike's been on the show too, I believe.
Mike has been on the show as well. Yeah, Mike
Absolutely.
Lavonte, I should say. He likes to go by Mike. Silver medalist, John Jacob. John Jacob's also been on the show before.
Yep.
And so JD, so we talked about honorable mention, Laura Scott has been on the show. Bronze medalist, Mike Lavonte has been on the show. Silver medalist, John Jacob has been on the show. Don't say anything out loud, but guess about the gold medalist.
Yeah, I think he's been on the show too.
Gold medalist in the 2021 Iron Bee Secret Ingredient Contest. It's actually the meat I'm sipping on at the moment. Kyle Ducharme.
Excellent. Congratulations, Kyle.
As always, we will talk about each of those in just a minute, but as always, all of the Iron Bee medalists always have a seat at the bar at the meat house. So all of them are, of course, welcome at the meat house anytime. It's kind of like, we talk about the key holders. Well, I think you get like the skeleton key when you win the Iron Bee.
There you go.
I should also mention two of the meads that made the final table, made the mini boss, I should say, or mini boss. These are very good. I'm including them here because you should be proud of yourself for making that final table. Regardless of what happens afterwards. Kevin McCann and Sean Boss. Kevin McCann, I think, has been on the show as well. So congratulations to the winners. Congratulations to the final table inclusion folks. And again, a big congratulations to Kyle Ducharme on your fabulous meet here.
I think I've got an applause line. Let's see. There you go. Congratulations, guys.
Wait, JD, I thought that's just what we always heard when we opened the window at the meat house.
Yeah.
I thought there was always a crowd
course.
out there cheering for
us. Every time I turn the mic on, that's what I hear all the time.
Yeah. So we'll kind of briefly go through these four because they were all very, very, very good. Kyle's, he named Tea Time with Blueberries. And he incorporated blueberries and chamomile tea into his mead. It was very good. Really enjoyed it. Matt, do you want to talk about what you thought and how you thought the passion flower presented?
Yeah, this was one of the most expressive of the passion flower, but yet not overdone. When it's a sweeter mead, you just, you want to have it present, but that sweetness can overpower. So it was just well balanced, expressive, no flaws, something that you'd be proud to share with a friend. And then when you start getting into that category, I mean, that's really something special.
Yeah.
Very, very good.
The next one was very interesting. This was by John Jacob, and I just want to double check my notes on this one here because it was interesting. It was another blueberry mead, by the way. So his was another blueberry mead. So blueberries kind of won the day. The blueberries with blueberry and passion flower goes well together. I mean, I will have to ask, Jessica the next time we talk to her from Mountain Rose Herbs or give her that bit of insight. But the number one and number two were blueberry. So very pairs well with passion flower. Now the second one was very different. The Kyle Ducharme was, I believe, a standard mead that was still and probably like medium strength. Standard, still, and medium sweetness. I think so, kind of a medium sweetness. This one was very different. This by John Jacob was blueberries. It was a hydromel. It was sparkling. It was dry, and he declared that he made it with Kvike.
Interesting.
Wow. Yeah.
And it was really good. The tropical esters from the Kvike really came out, and I enjoyed it. And clearly, as Matt was saying, the dries sometimes are at a disadvantage against the mediums and sweets, just because you're not testing the whole bottle, you're not drinking the whole bottle of it and saying what I think of that bottle. You're drinking a taste. You're just tasting it and saying how do I prefer, and in taste tests, sweet usually wins. But with silver medal, I mean, another great mead here. Matt, what did you think? What's your other thoughts on this one?
Just again, one of those meads where it just worked. It's a little bit on the drier side, and I loved it. I think that you and I talked about it. I was 1 and 1A, right? These were just two great meads, and I again would be proud to serve that or give that to any one of my friends, and just a pleasure to judge it.
Yeah, great job, John. Moving into our bronze medal, this was a very interesting mead. Now, this is one that Matt, I think this is the bottle that I gave you, wasn't it? This one. This is by Mike Lavonte, and he has a co-brewer, Aubrey Boucher. So Mike Lavonte with co-brewer Aubrey Boucher, and they made a chocolate. They called it chocolate ginger passion.
Oh, wow.
Chocolate ginger passion. And it said that this one was made with a blend of macadamia nut blossom honey and lahua blossom honey.
Oh, good Lord. Wow.
So I wonder if he got that from our good buddy in Hawaii.
Yeah.
I'm sure he did. I'm quite certain he did. This was a really unbelievable mead. I mean, it was very decadent. It had this one was medium sweet, which really let the honeys come out, and very decadent, very luscious. I thought this one, had the most body, just excellent mouthfeel, and another one that we really enjoyed. And again, Matt, I think this is the one one of the ones you requested the bottle of. So I think you might have really enjoyed this one as well.
You know what I hated about this mead was that I couldn't put it higher. I just loved it. I just wish I could have given first place to everybody, right? I mean, these meads are just wonderful. And yeah, you're right. I did request the bottle of it. So, I mean, I just, again, a wonderful mead, and so many good examples of passion flower. Admittedly, something that I've never really used before in the past. I mean, I'm aware of it, but just crazy when you have such a well-executed mead and a great expression of that passion flower. So, again, yeah, just great mead.
Yeah, excellent. And our honorable mention spot to Miss Laura Scott, she also made a hydromel. But she went a different direction. Her hydromel was still and medium sweet. So, very different, but I get it. I get why she did it, and it clearly worked. Her entry name was Citrus Passion. She didn't give us a lot of notes on her mead, so we're not exactly sure of what she did, but it was very good. It was very, very good. I mean, clearly, give it the honorable mention, and it had a pinkish hue to it, and the passion flower came out really well. The passion flower came out really well. And there was some citrus flavor there as well. Again, without her providing notes, we weren't exactly sure what was coming from. And one of the things that Matt and I like to do as judges is we try to be humble. And when we don't know something, we either just say we don't know it, or if we think we know it, we're the type of judges who put like a question mark behind it, because if you've been around enough competitions, you've probably come across a score sheet or two where a judge will write with authority that he knows about something about your process, your ingredients, and he's criticizing it, and then you get the score sheet back and you go, nope, I didn't have any Crystal 60 in there, or nope, I did not do a decoction. And he was so certain about when he put it in there that with it. So we don't try to make those assumptions because we don't know what you did to the bottle. So again, I wish I knew more. Maybe Laura will give us a little more feedback later. But excellent mead. Loved how the passion flower presented. Loved the citrus background to it. Thought it was excellent. Matt, what did you think of this? Well, I know you liked it, but what other thoughts do you have on it?
Yeah, this one was like a befuddled and inspired, right? I was confused at times when I was tasting, and then you're like, well, is that just me or it's just really good mead. And you can try to classify meads and go over how sweet something is, but this is just something when you sip it, it's a good mead. And you and I talked about it, and just one of those that you want to include and make sure they. I don't know how the process goes for this competition, but nonetheless, you want to nod the cap to that mead and that Meadmaker as making an excellent mead. So, and frankly, the most vivid of all the three, which or all the four, I really appreciated judging those meads. But this one was very vivid in terms of the flavor profile and what it really brought to the table. So again, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So we saw across the spectrum there were meads that had all kinds of different flavors in them, added to them, from cinnamon to Haskap berries to vanilla. A couple that were appeared to be straight passion flower, nothing else. And again, I was so thoroughly impressed with the spectrum of flavors, varieties, strengths, carbonations, sweetness levels that were put forth by Mead House Nation. And I would say that the secret ingredient again this year was another resounding success. And as I continue to say, this is the funnest competition in mead making. So if you didn't get in this year, make sure that you get in next year, where you can participate in this, because it's a lot of fun and challenging. Even the seasoned mead makers, find this competition very fun and challenging. So great stuff. Matt, any kind of parting thoughts?
Well, no, I just I appreciate you doing this competition, and it really helps promote the mead industry and the mead world. And I love being a part of it. I appreciate your invitation. I hope people get good feedback from the score sheets themselves, and it was just a real honor tasting all those great meads from your great listeners. So thank you.
Good stuff. Boy, it sounds like a heck of a competition. Wish I could have been up there to taste these meads right along with you. Segment 2 here, as we move along, we kind of switched gears several years ago now. And we took the show from just regular, traditional style mead making to a particular category now is braggots. And of course, I kind of put my foot down on that one because I had my first braggot. I explained all this here a couple of shows ago, Aaron Martin, and I got hooked. And so the show, we kind of established a vision. We wanted to push this category out to the forefront. And we thought maybe if we talked about it more and got more people involved, that we could try to do our part in getting this category of mead, a little more recognized. And I think we've been able to do that. So segment 2, Ryan, the Iron Bee has always included the Bragging Shootout. And that's kind of a come as you are, right? I mean, this is just build the best Braggad, if I got that right, correct?
Yeah. So this is the second year of the Bragging Shootout, and it is it started as a side challenge. In Mead House Iron B1, we had the just the mint vanilla pine challenge. And
That was fun.
The goal was make the best mead you can with the ingredients mint, vanilla, and pine flavors, and we would judge it hedonistically. And it happened one day off of just a off the cuff kind of remark, and some of our listeners kind of razzed us until we actually made it an official category. And so we did. Well, the second year, we decided to focus on braggots and did the Bragging Shootout. And now we extended that to the second year, and I assume that's just going to always be the second category for the Iron B in perpetuity. But it is still a side challenge, and for now, and it's judged hedonistically. And all that means in the judging world is that it is judged on drinking pleasure. Do I enjoy this mead? Do I enjoy this braggot? Do I want more of it? And just drinking pleasure. I mean, and we talked about this. There are some styles, let's say on the beer side, because there's a lot of great mead styles. But on the beer side, there are some classic, BJCP recognized, beer styles that may not be pleasing to everyone's palate, especially some of those more obscure styles. And what's the point of trying to make the best, worst tasting beer? So here, it's simply judged hedonistically. There is no score sheet. There is nothing other than, is this a good representation of a braggot, and do I enjoy drinking it? Again, the spectrum of braggots was unbelievable. It looked like, from very pale, very, very, very pale, all the way to black, in color, and even a couple of like pinkish hues in the middle, so you went from straw to maybe pink, or pink and straw, to light amber, dark amber, brown, all the way to black. So a lot of great stuff there. I'm going to do this one a little bit different. I'm going to talk about I'm going to give the winner, and then I'll talk about what they did really quick, just to give some folks. Okay, so I'm going to do this one. I'm going to start with the honorable mention, and I'll talk a little bit about that one, and we'll work our way up again. So honorable mention, Andrew Kos of the Iowa Brewers Union. He had a really great braggot. He called it Buzz Beer. So a little play on words there. I think that's a Simpsons reference. Buzz Beer. Loads of honey in this one. Just loads and loads of honey. You definitely know you're drinking a braggot. Really well done. Not like cloyingly sweet. I mean, it's not like he just opened up a can of beer and squeezed in a honey bear. It was really, really well done. So wow. Tons of honey in this one. Very well done, Andrew. Honorable mention to Andrew. The bronze medalist, Michael Bush. This was a Pilsner braggot. So a very great representation. Lot of carbonation in there. Very strong on, very, very clean ferment, excellent flavor. Really, really enjoyed this one, and I think you've got a lot more. it was great the way it was. You won a bronze medal. I'm just saying you can even go farther with this because this one was really, really well done. Silver medalist. No stranger to the podium. No stranger to even the Iron B podium. Silver medal, Nathan Stiegman.
Wow. This
was a very, very, very good one. He always uses Latin on his name his beers, and I always forget. I'm not my Latin isn't very good.
Come on, spit it out.
My Greek might be better.
Yeah. Maybe your Italian might be better.
Yeah, my Italian's better. Let's see. Inebriation. What is this? Something inebriation. Let me just figure it. Let's see. What is the?
You sure it's not the triple-fisted thing going on there?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Anyway, Nathan Stiegman.
I don't know. The verb seems to be like get you inebriated or something. I think it's maybe I'm wrong, but something about like getting you inebriated. I think it's something. Anyway, it's very good. It's a very, very good. It definitely was the sweetest Braggad that I had.
Wow.
And my perception of this was that it reminded me very much of a Marzan or like an Oktoberfest, that kind of malty sweetness.
Ooh, nice.
Very good. Very, very well done. Nathan, another medal to add to your collection. Congratulations, sir. And the gold medalist of the Bragging Shootout Iron B 2021, Steve Dooley. Steve Dooley, congratulations. His was called Dark Howler. This was a very dark Braggart, but it reminded me in some ways of like a dry stout or a short spear. It wasn't sweet. It wasn't really heavy. It wasn't like a surly darkness or a Russian Imperial Stout or something like that. Mm-hmm. It was not heavy, but it drank really, really well. Wow. Really enjoyed this one. Actually finished the bottle last night of that one. That was a really great one. So again here, excellent meads. The Bragging Shootout is one of my. I know that I can't say the side category or side challenge is my favorite part of the competition, but it's close. And 1A 1B type thing, right?
Yeah.
Because Braggets were such an overlooked category.
Yes.
They were an overlooked category. I judged in one of the largest mead competitions, in the world. And I don't think we had this many Braggets in that whole competition. I think we had maybe they were condensed down to like one judging plate, or something like that. And so to see the Braggets come forward, to see more people producing them, and the variety that you can get. I mean, the variety, the spectrum, the strength, the sweetness level, the carbonation level, the malts, the hops, the adjuncts. It's just unbelievable. And I really feel very pleased with the work we've done into building this category and this style of beverage, more importantly than any competition category. But that I hear people talking about their Braggets now, or on some of the forums, on Facebook, on Reddit, places like that, and what they're making and how they're doing it. And I know that we've done our part in that, and just absolutely fantastic stuff there. Again, very, very big congratulations to gold medalist Steve Dooley, silver medal Nathan Stiegman, bronze medal Michael Bush, and honorable mention, Andrew Coase. Very, very, very good stuff. And can't wait to see and more braggots as people make them, and if you want braggot feedback, you don't have to wait till the competition. You can just mail it to the Mead House North, and we'll give it a taste test and maybe fill a score sheet for you, give some feedback, and send it back. So that's it for Iron B 2021, everybody. That is it. We've got a lot of great meads, a lot of great winners, a lot of great fun.
Yeah.
We are going to get these score sheets out as quickly as possible. Give us maybe another week or so. We're going to try to digitize them so that we can get them to you even quicker. Through the internet machine here versus the snail mail. So we will get those over to everybody. But wow, so impressed. Mead House Nation, you delivered again. Keep those braggots coming. Keep pushing yourself on those ingredients. And man, I am just so proud and so pleased with what everybody put together.
Yeah, and thank you, Matt, for participating as our BJCP certified mead judge during this whole thing. I know you've been a friend of the Mead House for quite some time, and I've had the pleasure of actually meeting you up there at Mead House North, and I've always looked forward to maybe doing it again one day. Before we jump, if you hang on a minute, I'll give you a minute. I'll give you a chance to talk here. But are you able to stick around for the remainder of the session with us? But probably about another 20 minutes or so. You want to do that? Okay, perfect. One thing before we jump into the next segment, can you, from your perspective as a mead judge and as a competition, a competitor, can you give our listeners a reason why a home mead maker would want to compete in a competition such as this? And it doesn't have to be the Iron B. I mean, there's a lot of competitions out there, but why would a home mead maker want to participate in a competition like this?
Yeah, well, I don't know if they want to compete necessarily, but certainly get feedback. Even if it's as simple as first, second, third, that's feedback. But then also what you get on score sheets. And I think a lot of mead makers, when they're first starting out, yearn for some of that feedback. And in fact, I'd even go so far as to say that some of the best mead makers in the world, like I mentioned earlier, going to Poland, it's because there's other mead makers and they can talk to each other and give each other feedback. So I think contests like this are a microcosm of that, right? You're able to get real, if you're in Wichita, Kansas, or Bozeman, Montana, or Birmingham, Alabama, you can get feedback from a competition. All it takes is just for you to pay the fee and send it in, or whatever the contest rules are. So I think it's just great.
Yeah, and again, thank you.
Going on.
Oh, go ahead, Brian.
I was going to go on that for a second. Let me just read to you. Again, we had eight winners, and then I listed 2 folks who made the final table. So I'm going to list off where they're from because I think this speaks to what Matt just said. Swanton, Vermont. Rogue River, Oregon.
Rouge River, Oregon.
I think they went rogue, JD. I think they went rogue. Swanton, Vermont. Rouge River, Oregon. Waterbury, Connecticut. Pocasson, Virginia. Englewood, Colorado. Raleigh, North Carolina. Houston, Pennsylvania. St. Paul, Minnesota, my hometown. Concord, California. And Ankeny, Iowa. I mean, how do you get a bigger swath, than that, from Vermont to California? So, again, to what Matt's saying, look at this. We got 8 different states listed here from coast to coast, north to south. And, it's, where are you going to get that kind of feedback or able to connect with folks like that.
There you go. All right. And Matt, again, thank you so much for, giving of yourself and judging this high class of meads that we got in this year's competition. Certainly appreciate the effort that you put in.
Well, the pleasure's all mine. Thanks so much.
All right. We're going to jump into...
I am so jealous I did not...
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Jeff.
Sorry, I was just going to say I'm so jealous I did not get to take part in judging this year. Schedule just didn't work out. But, of all the people Ryan could have got, we were in great hands with Matt. So thank you, Matt. I really appreciate it. And I am so jealous from the sound of all these meads that I wish I could have been there.
Dude,
I wish I could have been there.
I remember the first one that I went to when my wife and I drove all the way up to, or no, I guess we flew up there. I don't remember. Anyway, we wound up in Minnesota, and specifically for Iron B #1. And I'll tell you, I was just overwhelmed with the emotion up there. I mean, I could not believe the community, this mead making community. I met some tremendous people. I mean, a lot of them. And I am so impressed. And yeah, Jeff, I'm with you, dude. I wish to hell that I could have been up there at that table and, just tasting some of the incredible efforts that, our listeners have put into their meads for the competition. So go ahead, Ryan.
Oh, I think Matt was going to say something.
Oh, Matt, go ahead.
Actually, no. If I want to rub it into Jeff, though, I would say that Leo, my dog, may have drank more of the mead than you have. So,
ouch.
Yeah, right.
Ouch.
Just.
Oh,
oh, dude!
I'm just kidding. No. I mean that in the best. That's all love. That's all love. But we certainly enjoyed it. I can't wait to actually meet you again in person. I think the first time I met you was at the Mazer Cup, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and it would be great to see everybody again in person.
All right, so moving on. This is the part of the show that we enjoy the most, I think, and this is the social club. And I think we renamed it. I don't know, maybe a year ago or whatever. I can't even remember what it was called before, but we decided we needed to come up with a new name. So the social club. This is where we try to answer questions from mead makers like you and me, with no formal expertise from any of us, other than what we've experienced in our own brew house. So all that to go here, and let's get started. The first one up, guys, real simple. Highly hop Braggad. I don't think we talked about this thing the last time. Highly hop Braggad. Thinking about making a Braggad with a WC IPA hop profile. Have you guys made a 50+ IBU Braggad? How did it turn out? Holy crap. I don't know, Ryan. 50 IBUs? That's like high octane, ain't it?
Yeah, I have not made, like, I guess what we consider, they said West Coast IPA, and we might have actually talked about this in the last show.
We might have. I don't remember.
I have not made an IPA Braggad. I've made plenty of pale ale braggots, more than, 30-ish, 20, 30, IBU range, but never, or less even, but not in that IPA range. But, the last IPA Braggad, I think the one I recall, let's put it this way, the IPA Braggad that I can actually recall was a commercial one. And it was made by a brewery in Minnesota. This was several years ago, called Badger Hill Brewery. And they did a collaboration brew with the former head brewer at Surly, first name Todd. I can't remember his last name. And then he went over, now he's over at Three Floyds Brewing, or at least last I heard he was. and it was kind of his farewell Minneapolis brew. And so he did this beer, and the one he picked to make was an IPA Braggad. So, and it's one of those, I used to be one of those guys who'd stand outside the brewery, get in line for bottles. And I did that. I dragged my brother with me, and because I think they had a 2-bottle per person limit or something. And I dragged my brother out there, and we're standing out in the cold waiting for these bottles. But damn it, it was a great Braggad. It was an IPA Braggad. It was absolutely fantastic. Loads of honey, loads of hops, good bitterness, good malt. So it can be done. The point of that story is it can be done.
Yeah.
And it just I haven't done it.
Well, that's the whole thing with the West Coast is I don't know what it is about people who live out here. They just got to overdo everything. It's like putting jalapenos in your pancakes. I mean, what the hell? Anyway, I don't know about a 50 IBU. I mean, my wife might drink it. She likes that. Those mega IPAs. And I think in fact, I think we might have talked about it. And I think I did mention that her favorite is Arrogant Bastard from Stone Brewing. So, but anyway, let's move on to the next one here. This is kind of an interesting one. It's kind of long-winded, so sit tight here, Matt. Started a white pine mead with basswood honey 7 months ago. Foraged a good handful of pine needles and made a strong tea with them. Also grabbed some bark for secondary. This was definitely my inspiration as a Wisconsin kid. Also, yes, just a standard recipe with the tea replacing the water. I'll be adding cranberries and juniper in secondary, which I'll also forage myself. I plan on adding cranberries and juniper in secondary, which I'll forage myself. After 4 months in secondary, I decided to take a taste of the mead and started with white pine needle tea. With the mead that he started with white pine needle tea. You guys, it's awful. Like god awful. Maybe the worst thing I've ever tasted. So bad that I'm worried it's actually toxic somehow. Not really to that last part, but it's really gross. The taste that lingers is the toughest bit. I added a few scoops of mashed cranberries, some juniper, and allspice berries, and a few hearty shakes of lactose. I'm not confident that it will get to a place that's drinkable. Anyway, so let's do. I'm going to toss this over to Jeff to start. He's our local scientist right here at the house. Pine needles and toxicity. Is there such a thing?
Not to my knowledge. I mean,
pine needles are edible.
Yeah, pine needles are very edible, and in fact, as far as as I am given to understand, so bear in mind this is armchair anthropology. This is not. Do not take me as an expert in this field, but I'm given to understand that for a lot of Native American communities, things like this pine needle tea, where they're a good source of vitamin C through the year to prevent scurvy and stuff like that. Kind of the same way that a lot of Slavic communities, in my ancestry, ate a ton of cabbage because it's the best way you can get vitamin C. So yeah, no, they're absolutely edible, and the pine needle tea preparation has some historical precedent. So I'm not sure if that's necessarily what's making this bad or what it means by it's awful, but in theory this is going to be fine.
Let's throw this over to Matt for a minute here. Matt, I don't know if you've worked with pine needles or not, but if you have, is there what would make this thing go bad? I'm thinking maybe the way he, actually there's a couple of things. One, it may be the way he started out with his white pine needle tea. Two, we had a guest on, as I recall, Ryan and Jeff, that foraged pine needles. In fact, he made a business of it.
Yes, Bruce on tap.
Yeah, but the pine needles have to be a certain age, young, I believe.
Yes.
Matt.
Mhm.
Yeah, Matt. Have you had any experience with pine needles at all?
Yeah. Hold on. Every year, I would take about 45 bags of pine needles out of my backyard. It was full of pine trees, and it sucked. And I would also say that, you need the early spruce. And I think Josh Holbrook, who is quite the mead maker himself, I think believes that fir is the best out of all the, balsam and the different Christmas tree type iterations. Fir, so early spring, like those little nodes that come out in fir, I think is at least from somebody I trust the best option.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something, Ryan, that I didn't consider was the type of tree. That may have everything to do with it, you think?
Well, right. I mean, there are the pine needles, from pine trees, like white pines and things like that, which are very different than, say, spruce or fir. Trees that have like a blue spruce or a Fraser fir, or like I said, or a white pine. So if you took the needles off of, say, those three examples, you'd have three very different flavor profiles and probably enjoyment of what you're making. It's interesting. Matt's a Wisconsin kid, and this guy says he's a Wisconsin kid. So we got some good stuff there. He said he wanted to add cranberries and juniper berries.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing: is the needles don't necessarily give you that piney. They can, but I mean they don't also give you that piney flavor that you almost think of. When you smell a pine tree.
Well.
And so I wonder if he was trying to go for something like that. The other thing to watch out for, and again, we're just, we're kind of just shooting the breeze here because we don't have, all the details, but juniper, if he means juniper berries, by the way, I don't know what part of the juniper he's using, but if he's using juniper berries, those can be very strong and pungent.
Yes.
As they flavor the gin, the big component in gin. So I can see those kind of going sideways in a hurry on you if you put more than a fingernail in there worth of them.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to the next one. Did we talk about the one with the vanilla bean last time?
I don't think so.
Hey everyone, I've got a 1 gallon batch that's using an ale yeast, so I decided to make it vanilla flavored. I split bean and hung it from a string. It's suspended in the mead. I've read that some people leave the vanilla in anywhere from 2 weeks to a month or so. If anyone has some recommendations, I would appreciate the input. My take on it, you can leave it in as long as you want, but drink it rather, I don't want to say quickly because it will last a while, but if you expect it to last, 9 months to a year, maybe not. Vanilla is one of those components that just seems to kind of dissipate over time. So, Matt, vanilla beans, I know you've worked with vanilla. What's your take on the whole vanilla bean process? Hang it from a string or just drop the thing in there?
Well, I do a couple different things. One, I'll actually just make extract, right? Like I'll get a very good rum, and if you get like Penzi spices, it's almost like a cigar, glass tube, and you can just put a few beans in there with some rum, and then you can add that whole thing right to the mead, and it gets almost like that barrel vanilla oak type of flavor to it. So you can do a whole bunch of things, but yeah, I think the best thing is to put some kind of like unminted tooth floss. You tie it around, you dip it in, and then you just keep pulling it out and tasting it. If it's 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 6 weeks, it's whatever you prefer.
Yeah. Ryan, well, let's go to Jeff. Jeff, vanilla beans. I mean, I work with tons of vanilla. In fact, I just got a big order from Beanilla, my favorite source for my vanilla beans. I make my own vanilla extract, and I use different liquors. And Matt, you're right. Rum makes some of the most fantastic vanilla, and I use it in cooking all the time. And but splitting the bean, just you get the right bean. I like Indonesian beans. I like the Madagascar beans. If you can get them, I even like the ones out of Mexico, but they're hard to get anymore. But splitting them down and then carving all the seeds out and everything, that does open them up, and you're able to really extract a lot of flavor. But what's your experience with vanilla, and what would you recommend as far as doing a vanilla flavored mead?
So the first bochet I ever made, kind of right after Heikrausen, I split a bean and I just stuck it in the fermenter, let it ride out the rest of primary. Basically had a little bit longer primary. I let it sit for a while longer, kind of just tasting it and seeing before I racked a secondary and racked off that bean as well. That worked out pretty well for me, and I would estimate I probably had that bean on there 3-4 weeks contact time. One bean in a 1 gallon batch. And the vanilla wasn't terribly pronounced because there were a lot of other flavors there. The bochet honey. I took it to a very dark kind of molassesy brown kind of color. And so I got a lot of flavor components from that. The vanilla played nicely. And bear in mind, vanilla is also one of those spices that it is the world's best supporting player. It kind of just enhances every other flavor in there without a lot of light on itself. So it can be a little bit hard to detect when you've got other flavors going in there too. That said, I think Matt's right on the money. You just kind of got to taste it and see how you're going. And do you want more? Do you want a little less? I actually just put in an order with our friend Sean over at Island Buzz for some Hawaiian honey beans, along with some Hawaiian honey.
There you go. Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. I'm coming to your house, dude. That's good stuff. I'm kind of a vanilla, not much of a connoisseur, but I've been making my own vanilla extract for, oh my God, years. And, it's real simple. I mean, it's a pint of alcohol, and I use 10 beans, and I split them and then cut them in probably 1-inch pieces and dump them in my little pint jar and fill it up with, name the alcohol. I've done it with bourbon. I've done it with rum. I've done it with vodka. Brandy, you name it. I mean, just about any kind of liquor will work. And you get these different flavors. I mean, rum certainly tastes way different than brandy. And brandy tastes way different than bourbon. And I use it in cooking a lot. And, if you can impart some of those flavors into your mead, wow, vanilla is a really cool thing to play around with. They're a little on the pricey side, but here's the deal. It doesn't take very many beans to make a good little pint of vanilla extract. So it just takes time. My extract sits for about 6 months before I bottle it up and use it. So,
and if you're a tincture or an extract or something like that to a mead, a pint doesn't really seem like that much of a flavoring agent, but you're literally measuring in like milliliters or drops, even on the gallons. So a little really does go a long way at that level.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the last thing I'll say, because it's not a show unless we mention them, but I've played around a little bit with some of the vanilla flavorings from Amaretti.
There you go.
And they do have some liquid and powdered vanilla flavorings that you can also do as a very easy addition to some of your meads. I actually used it in a stout Braggad that I was making. I wanted some vanilla flavor to come through, in this stout Braggad, and I used some cacao nibs and some I'm Ready vanilla flavoring, and I was really, really pleased with how it came in and stuck around as well. So,
something I haven't, I mentioned on the show before that I took some honey, and because I had heard about this barrel, quote unquote, barrel aged honey, and I thought, well, that's ridiculous. So I thought, well, let me try that. So I took a couple of half-gallon mason jars, filled them up with honey, and stuffed a bunch of oak. I think one of them's got French oak. I think another one's got Hungarian oak in it. Now, mind you, these jars are still up in the cupboard. They're probably 3 years old by now. Every once in a while, I'll get them down and taste them, and not one single ounce of wood flavor whatsoever. None. Zero. Okay. Zip. All right. So, Matt, when it comes to vanilla beans, okay, have you ever put a vanilla bean in, say, a quart of honey or, some honey and let it sit? Do you think that vanilla would impart its flavor into the honey at all?
Well, yeah. I think it depends on what you're trying to do. But my mom is my dealer. She works at a place called the Vanilla Bean, and she gets me good stuff.
Oh,
like
Lord.
Madagascar, Mexican, A, B. I mean, we're talking all the different beans.
Yeah.
And then the question is where are you going to put them? Like you said, you're going to put them in a quart jar with, really good rum or brandy. I mean, there's really, you can try all the hard liquors. Yep. And, but when you're talking about the vanilla flavor, personally, I like rum. So if I'm going to make some kind of vanilla, you can do vodka, but I just like having that little caramelized sugar that I get from rum. So that's my preference.
There you go. All right, guys, we're going to hang it up right there. We have just flat run out of time here at the Mead House for this episode. So thanks for hanging out with us, and a big thank you, Matt. Thank you so much for judging this year's Iron B and for hanging out for the whole show with us tonight. Really appreciate you coming aboard.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Hey, and make sure and tune in next week. We've got a very special announcement for all of our listeners on the next show, so you want to tune in. So as far as that goes, Ryan flipped the lights off. Jeff slammed the door shut. Matt, I guess you can just sweep up a little bit. Hey, we'll see you next week. Next door. We'll see you, next door at the strip club with all the roosters. Forget that. We'll see you next week at episode number 219 right here at the house. Hey, we're gone.